Could you be binging? So yesterday I asked on my Instagram stories who wanted to know more about binging. And 100% of the 221 people who replied to that poll said they wanted to have more information about binge eating. And I've decided to start producing some videos about this topic, and I hope you find these interesting. For those who haven't been following me for that long, my name is Marisa Bell, founder of Road to Bell, and I'm a binge eater. I remember exactly what it felt like when I realized that what I was doing with food actually had a name, and it was binging. For a long time, I thought I had a self-control problem, or I didn't have enough willpower, or I didn't have what it takes to stick to a diet plan, like all these other success stories that we see. For many years, I honestly believed that if I just found the perfect diet, the perfect nutritionist, the perfect product, the perfect trainer, then all of my problems with my weight and food would be solved. I was constantly searching for answers outside of myself to give me what I thought was the right solution. 2 years ago, I decided to start trying to lose weight again for the millionth time, and this time I really wanted to take it seriously. So I sat down and I made a plan, and for about a month it was going great, until I had a really bad day at work. One of those days where you want to crawl underneath a blanket and sleep forever. I'm sure you've all experienced one of those days sometimes. And the way I was used to dealing with such stressful days was to eat. And that is exactly what I did. I ate everything that I could get my hands on. And in about an hour, I think I had consumed around 10,000 calories. After I was sitting down and feeling miserable and angry and sorry at myself, I got my phone and I googled why can't I stop eating. And the first thing that came up was information about binge eating disorder. Believe it or not, that was the first time that I thought that I might have a problem. Now, as a disclaimer, I want to point out that not everyone who exhibits binge-like behavior suffers from the full-blown eating disorder, which is what I suffered from and what I have dealt with for the past 2 years. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to talk about binge-like behavior because I feel many people feel they're out of control with food and they just can't get it right without actually having the full-blown eating disorder. So let me just ask you a few questions and answer them in your own heart. Have you ever felt so full yet you couldn't stop eating? Do you overeat in secret because you are ashamed to eat in front of other people? Do you feel stressed or unworthy or unlovable and you find comfort in food in spite of your commitment to lose weight? All of these could lead to binge-like behavior. Historically, there is a lot of shame surrounding binging and many people suffer in silence. And many may choose not to speak up because they are embarrassed that their behavior may be viewed negatively. My aim today is to bring more awareness to this. Many of those suffering from binging are a larger size than what our culture approves of and have been maybe labeled as overweight for their whole life. We are growing up in an Instagrammable society where skinny women and men with washboard abs are treated like idols. There's nothing wrong with these people, but for those who vary from this norm, it can be very difficult. And it can be especially hard on impressionable teenagers or on people with low self-esteem or distorted body image. Many people suffering from eating disorders, and even those who are not, have a hard time finding their self-worth in a world that seems to say you are not okay the way you are. Some people are genetically predisposed to be bigger, some are actually made to feel ashamed that they are bigger from a young age, and we see children who are really young being put on restrictive diets. We see this back and forth of restricting and then binging. And this is when the whole problem starts. And sufferers might feel like they shouldn't eat at all. They certainly feel they shouldn't be eating in public because people often comment about what they are eating if they're they have a little bit of a larger size. For example, it's happened to clients of mine that they are at a dinner with family or friends and people will comment about their food choice. It's even happened to me at my brother's wedding last year. I was the slimmest I had ever been and I felt amazing. And I had one profiterole and I was really enjoying it. And someone came up to me and told me, don't you think you should not eat that or you're going to get fat again? And all of these comments lead to people who want to eat and binge if they have a binging problem. What happens in a binge is that you could feel like you are out of control with food. You could feel like you can't stop eating, or you eat large quantities of food, or you can't stop thinking about food all the time. All of these are demonstrating binge-like behaviors. For me, a binge actually needs a lot of energy because once I get the urge, I try to fight myself. Like, oh my God, I feel like having a piece of chocolate. No, I shouldn't have the chocolate, but I want that chocolate, but I shouldn't have that chocolate. And many times I would end up still having that chocolate and another couple of more things with that. So it's got a lot of planning, a lot of plotting to it, a lot of self-negotiation, and there's like a voice in your brain telling you that you need to have this now, and it's something that you cannot control. Sometimes it might be saying, you already ruined your diet, might as well keep going now. Or you're never going to manage, just eat. All of these are leading to binging cycles. And sometimes it feels like you're on autopilot and you can't stop eating and you're not even realizing that you're eating until you are done, or you're elbow deep in a big bag of crisps or whatever you tend to binge on. All of these are binge-like behaviors. And something that's interesting to keep in mind is that a binge can happen on vegetables and it can happen on ice cream and cake. A binge is a feeling of something having control over your mind, and you cannot control your behavior. You might choose to binge on vegetables thinking they have less calories, but the behavior is still there, and that is what you need to tackle. A lot of people tend to binge from an emotional place. If you've had a stressful day, a fight with your partner, or your children are acting up all day, you're feeling tired, and all of this leads to what is known as emotional eating, but it also has binge-like qualities. If this is something that you feel rings a bell, then you want to keep following me on Instagram and Facebook as Road to Bell. And if you found this interesting, I will be posting a lot more content, videos, articles, and even organizing online workshops dealing with binging and intuitive eating. Feel free to message me with any questions you might have. Have a nice day.